especially those moments, and especially those moments when this campaign was at its lowest ebb, the African-American community stood up again for me. You've always had my back, and I'll have yours.
I want to ask you about your domestic agenda. You've gotten a lot of questions about voting rights, Mr. President, but I want to ask you about black voters, one of your most loyal constituencies.
Yep.
I was in Congressman Clyburn's district yesterday in South Carolina. You opened this news conference talking about him. I spoke to a number of black voters who fought to get you elected, and now they feel as though you are not fighting hard enough for them and their priorities. And they told me they see this push on voting rights more as a last-minute PR push than it is a legitimate effort to get legislation passed. So what do you say to these black voters who say that you do not have their backs as you promised on the campaign trail?
As of January 20th, we are now officially 1 year into the Biden administration. And after being in office a solid 12 months, it's more than safe to say that Joe Biden utterly despises black Americans. Now, this should have already been obvious to you given Biden's past, but honestly, I don't even have to dig that far back to prove my point because, as they say, actions speak louder than words. But if I may add on to that saying, I would state that non-action speaks the loudest. So what I wanted to do with today's video is just give you a very quick recap of all the legislation that Joe Biden delivered to every group that deal exclusively with their specific needs. And then we'll compare it to what Black America has received from the Biden administration and the Democratic Party as a whole thus far. And after this video, then I can now officially begin documenting year 2 of the Biden administration. Now, before we get into the information, I want to make sure to say one last thing, and this is extremely important. This video is in no way, shape, or form about trying to convince Black America that the Republican Party is any better than the Democrats, okay? But what this is about is breaking the vote blue no matter who shackles that keep our people blindly voting Democrat, the key word being blindly. Our motto needs to be policy over party, because the only thing that blind party loyalty has gotten you thus far within the Biden administration is a couple of George Floyd statues, some hip hop holidays, and they actually gave us 3, so they were pretty generous. We got Hip Hop Celebration Day, Hip Hop History Month, and Hip Hop Recognition Month. We also got Juneteenth, another holiday, and they also recently put Maya Angelou on the quarter. And we can't forget about the promise of putting Harriet Tubman on the $20 bill. Now, they've been hanging that over our heads for quite some time now, but I guess eventually if we just keep voting blue no matter who, the Democrats will put Harriet Tubman on a $20 bill. This is what blind loyalty gets you. And before someone in the comment section says, what about Biden's executive order on White House initiative on advancing educational equity, excellence, and economic opportunities for Black Americans, I'm going to ask you this. Are you talking about that copy-paste executive order that Biden copied from Obama with almost the same exact title called Executive Order White House Initiative on Educational Excellence for African Americans? Is that the executive order you're talking about? Are you talking about the executive order that isn't even for Black Americans? Because as it states, and I quote, it is designed to improve outcomes for historically underserved communities, including Black Americans. Once again, ladies and gentlemen, this is the kind of disrespect that blind party loyalty gets you. Now let's quickly examine what our counterparts received from the Biden administration in comparison to you. Native Americans received a whopping $31 billion investment into their community. Afghan refugees received $7 billion for resettlement. They didn't even have to vote, but okay. Hispanics received their immigration executive order. The LGBTQ received an executive order to protect their rights. The AAPI community received a hate crime bill, despite the fact that per FBI data, out of 8,263 hate crimes recorded, 2,871 were committed against Black Americans. And oh yeah, I almost forgot, Native Americans received a criminal justice reform executive order as well. Meanwhile, the George Floyd bill is somewhere collecting dust. But listen, I don't want to be too disingenuous with this video because at the top of the year, we did get a Harriet Tubman statue in Philadelphia, if I'm not mistaken, okay? We did get that to start the year off because Lord knows what Black America needs is another statue. But in all seriousness, and as I'm stating for the third time now, this is what blind party loyalty gets you. Symbolic trinkets like statues and holidays, while everybody else is receiving legislation that meets the direct needs of their communities. And please stop letting the Democratic Party run game on you, talking about the reason they haven't been able to pass any bills for the Black community is because of Mitch McConnell and the Republicans and the Senate filibuster and Joe Manchin and blah, 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 blah. How come the filibuster and the Republicans and Joe Manchin don't ever seem to get into the way of passing bills for all other groups? It's only for you that all of a sudden nothing can be done. Just keep that in mind come the 2022 midterms and the 2024 presidential election, okay? And with all that being said, that does it for today's video. Please make sure you hit the subscribe button as well as the bell notification next to the subscribe button so you can be notified whenever I release a new video. All social media links will be pinned in the comment section below. Please make sure you text tdhiphop to number 33222. That's tdhiphop to number 33222. That way you'll get a direct text notification whenever I release a new video, but it also serves as a protection plan for myself in case YouTube ever gives this channel the axe. I'll be able to send you a direct link to where you can find me next. And last but not least, for those of you who have a love and appreciation for the work that I put in on this channel, the number one way you can show your support is through Patreon for only $3 a month. That will help put me in position to take TD Hip Hop Media off of YouTube. Remember, the goal is not to grow big on YouTube, but to grow independent of YouTube. And for those who have issues with joining Patreon, you could also hit the join button that's next to the subscribe button, and that way you can become an official channel member for as little as $3 a month as well. And lastly, if you have not already, please make sure you join the emailing list. There is no way that I can go independent of YouTube if I cannot take the audience with me. And the link to that will be pinned in the comment section as well. Thank you for your time, and until the next video, peace.